Welcome to Getting Real with Real Estate with Danielle Kempf and Jim Kempf, St. Louis's favorite father-daughter real estate team. Your source of real estate information in the greater St. Louis area.
Hey, welcome to the show today. Today I'm going to start off with a little story from back in the day, BC, right?
Before COVID.
Before COVID, and BD, before Danielle joined me on the team. Not before she was born, but so it's going to relate to today's topic, and which
What is today's topic?
Well, we're going to talk today a little bit about surviving showings for our new buyers. They've never been on a showing, so we got to tell them how to survive.
Yeah.
So my story goes like this. So back, this had to be like 2010, I think. And don't hold me to the date exactly.
You're dating yourself now.
Yes, that's easy to do. So I'm out with my favorite client. She was just a hoot. I loved working with her. I will not say her name to protect the innocent. But back then, right, there were, so like recently, right, when you go, you're lucky if you can find 2 or 3 houses to show a client, right?
Agreed.
Okay. So back then, though, it
180.
was like a whole 180 degrees, yeah, from where we are today. And I mean, you might have 15 properties on the list. So this was before I learned a lot of things, I guess, or some things. So anyway, we go to this house, and it was in Baldwin. I remember that specifically. I don't know how many we looked at that day, but anyway, we go upstairs, and it was a nicely renovated home, right? And it looked really, really good. It was just nice. Everything about it was to the T's. Beautiful house. And my client, she loved that house. She fell in love with it. And then after spending about 45 minutes loving that house, we walked downstairs.
Okay.
And lo and behold, we look at the front wall of the house. It was the basement was not finished whatsoever. Mm-hmm. We go down the stairs. You look a little bit to the right, which was the front wall of the foundation of the house, and it had horizontal piers all the way down the side, the whole down the front of the house. And she took one look at that and said, "Oh, no, I'd never buy this house." And so we packed up our stuff, and out we went on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of wasted 45 minutes loving on that house that she turned out she didn't want nothing to do with it just because of the foundation issue, right? And I was fixed foundation, but that's
Foundation issues are still foundation issues.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic probably that we might have some other time. But yeah, so that kind of where was I going with that? So we're gonna
Surviving showings. So I guess the first. Well,
why we don't do that? Why we implement?
Well, what'd you learn from that?
Well, what I learned from good question. What I learned from it was, and we kind of turned that into one of. We don't have a lot of rules here on the Kemp team, but one rule we do have when we're showing houses is we always like to start in the basement. And that story is why I like to do that. Because I could have saved a whole lot of time. My time and the client's time. If we had just walked downstairs, she'd have looked at all them piers. And they were nice, shiny, new piers. They looked nice, but they were still piers. And she didn't like that, nothing about it. So she's like, "I'm out. I don't want nothing to do with it." So had we done that first, we'd have saved 45 minutes.
Basement's where all the scary stuff hides. That's what I say.
That's kind of right.
It's where all your equipment is. It's where the foundation is. If there's any water, it's probably getting in the basement. It's where all the scary stuff is. So
Yep. So
one of the rules that I picked up from Jim is to start in the basement. But really, what is the first thing that we do before showing?
Well, the very, very first thing that we do when we meet with our clients for the first time is to review a couple documents.
Just 2.
Just 2. So it's not too overwhelming. But one is a Missouri broker disclosure form, right? So that just talks about the different types of agency relationships.
Allowed in the state of Missouri.
That's correct, right? So we go over that with them, and, we'll have them initial or sign it. We have to do that. The state law requires it, so we, like to do what the law requires. And then the next one is anyway, the next one is the buyer's agency agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's a little different in that, we're going to require our buyers to sign something with us, right? To kind of commit to
working
allowing
us. It's our permission slip. I call it our permission slip for us to show you the house.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have you sign this, then I'm working for the seller.
Right.
And I don't know the seller. I know you.
Right.
And I want to work for you.
And whose interest do we want to protect? The buyer.
Yours.
So we ask you to sign that agreement. So some people, and admit, I get it. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be committed to this or that. I don't want to sign nothing today. And we totally understand that. But you know what? We want to put you at ease when it comes to that because, for one, we can, if you have a problem with it, we want to represent you, right? We don't want to represent a seller. We want to represent our buyer. Right? Unless it's our listing, of course, but that's a whole other story. So we're going to ask you to sign it, and it could even just be for
one house.
It could be for one house. It could be for one day. It could be for a week or whatever. Just
we're flexible. Yeah.
See if you like us. We it's kind of same thing. We see if we like you, I guess, a little bit, right? But we have you do that so that we can protect your interest in representing the transaction. So don't get scared of those things. It's just part of the process. Yep. And again, Danielle said, it's our permission slip. So we ask you to do that. So anyway, that's part of it.
That's just the legal part of it that we kind of have to get out of the way. And then comes the fun part of actually looking at the houses. So So when we show houses to our potential buyers, we like to limit it to about 4 or 5 houses a day. Now, like Jim just said, you're lucky if you get 3 houses to look at any given time to go out. But I mean, if for some reason you just are open to all areas, or you're just really lucky and there's a lot of inventory in your area that you're looking at, we always we limit it to 4 or 5 houses.
Why do you do that, if I can ask?
Because once you hit house number 4, all of the other houses you saw that day are going to start blurring together. You're not going to remember which one had the granite countertops in the kitchen. Was that the same one that had the fireplace in the great room? Or was it the one that had the real nice shiny hardwood floors? And they all start blurring together, even as realtors for us. If we go out and preview them and get feedback, everything starts kind of blurring together. And I just
it gets confusing.
I just end up flipping through the photos again. After I show so many, I just got to flip through the photos one more time to remind myself. Yeah. And I feel like buyers, if you see too many, that's where you just end up.
Yeah, I like to kind of say it just confuses buyers,
does.
Right? That's a hard enough decision to buy a house. To really, you think about it, right? The biggest
financial transaction you're probably ever going to make.
Maybe ever, but for sure that if there may be, even if it's their first house or whatever, or second, it's going to be bigger than the first one they bought. So that's the biggest financial transaction that probably people have had, and they want to be confident in making that decision. Yep. And for us to show, if we had a dozen houses for you to show, for us to do that would kind of be, it would just kind of defeat the purpose, because we want to make it as easy on our buyers as we can, and just to confuse them by showing them too many houses at one time just doesn't make sense.
Anything.
It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't. We're not helping anybody out that way. So that's why we try to do that and help you not be confused.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you want to tell them about the rule number 2? Were you going to go there next, or where?
What was rule number 2? Start in the basement.
That's rule number 1.
Oh, that's rule number 1. Okay.
Sometimes we get our rules mixed up.
Yeah, we do.
But what's the other rule?
Well, one of my other rules, I don't know if this is the one that you're going for, but it's if we just pull up to the house, or if we're inside the house and you take 2 steps inside and you don't like it, you're not hurting my feeling. You just let me know, and we're out the door. Right. If it's you don't like the street, you don't like the exterior, you don't like how many steps lead up to the front, we don't even have to go in the house. If you walk in and say, I don't like the layout, I don't like... What are other reasons people don't like?
Just sometimes it's just...
It's just not the right fit.
It's just not the right house.
Sometimes you just walk in and you just know it's not the right fit. And you don't have to feel like you're hurting our feelings. Right. It's not our 99% of the time. It's not our house that we're listing anyway that we're showing you. We're showing somebody else's house. So you're not hurting our feelings. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And we're that buyer's agency. We're here to support you and help you. And if you don't like it, we're out the door and on to the next one.
And I don't know. We don't try to ever push anybody into any kind of house, because it's just self-defeating. When you walk into a house and when you find the right house, you know it, and believe it or not, you know it really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so knowing the wrong house, it's that quickly. And a lot of people they're just like, oh, I didn't want to hurt your feelings and tell you I didn't like it. So they walk around with you for 30 minutes and, looking at, and they didn't care because they didn't like the house anyway. Yeah. So it's like, that's another one of those, we want to save your time and we want to save our time because everybody's time is valuable these days. And yeah, I mean, if you just don't like it, if you, like Danielle said, you pull up in the car and roll the window down and go, there's something about it I just don't like. Hey, no skin off my back. Just let's go. We'll move on. So that's rule number 2. So we got our rules. That's really all the rules we have. Other than that, we just like to have fun with you guys and go look at fun houses.
Yeah, but we do have a few more things to kind of go over. One of them I would say is more so a courtesy.
Yeah.
And that is test the water. Make sure there's water in the home before you have to use the restroom.
Are you saying just stop a quick trip in between showings? Is that what you're telling us?
That would be so much easier. Even if it makes us 15 minutes behind schedule, that's so much easier than having to make that awkward call.
Which awkward call is that, Danielle? You left a present in the toilet?
Yeah. Well, I've never made that call. I've just gotten that call.
We have gotten that. I mean, guys, it's kind of gross. But hey, sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got little kids in tow.
You just gotta go.
And it just happened. But yeah, I mean,
if you really gotta go to the bathroom, just let us know. Like, we'll make a stop for you.
We'll make a stop in between. And the worst case, I guess, scenario, if you really have to use, we at least will test, make sure the water's running, right?
Yeah.
And there's some stuff there to complete the job. Is that fair enough? Can I say it that way? I don't know if that's the right way to say it. But you guys get the point, I think.
I mean, also one of the other showing things.
This is a family show, isn't it? I mean, we can't.
And I mean, I feel like it's a little contradictory. I mean, not even. But we always kind of say, like, you can run water while you're doing showings. You can test the water pressure.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. It's actually a really good idea to 100%. Test water on the faucets. Maybe not in the shower, but I mean, at least sinks. And then if you look underneath, you can see if they're dripping. So it's always a good idea to test the water anyway.
Yeah. And I hear, honestly, there's nothing wrong with like turning a tub on or turning a shower on and see how the water pressure. Because some houses it's different. Some places really they have kind of low water pressure, and that's something you would want to consider. I think if you're buying a house, because that'll come up on an inspection probably. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just test the water before you do anything.
Yeah, and ask us before you use it.
Yeah.
If you really have to, okay? So that's kind of funny.
That's a fun one.
Kind of gross, but kind of funny. All right, cool.
All right, and then what do you call it, final point we have to talk about today is how many of you out there have like well, I guess if maybe you don't own a home yet. But anyway, even if you have an apartment, how many of you out there have a Ring doorbell or know someone who has a Ring doorbell?
Yep.
Or maybe Alexa's or the Google Nest.
Yeah. Even like baby monitors. Honestly, you can. Those are things
those
too.
Are hackable.
So what are those? Are recording
what do they all have
devices?
in common? Right? Yeah, they're all recording devices.
So different kind of recording devices. So we always kind of counsel our client. Well. We counsel our clients to
advise.
If you see those things when you walk in a house.
Sometimes we'll even point them out.
We'll try, but you got to be a little careful.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that some sellers are recording you, which they're not necessarily supposed to be doing.
It depends on the state and federal laws, but
we're not attorneys. We
no.
don't even play one on TV, but it's.
A gray line, I would call it.
It's kind of gray line in Missouri, it seems to be. So we like to just tell everybody kind of be careful. If you see a Ring doorbell, if you see a Nest, if you see all them things, just be careful how you act, right? There are a couple things, right? If you really love the house, don't go jumping up and down doing backflips, screaming about how much you love it, because, hey, that seller might be looking at you. Right?
Yeah.
And if you present an offer to him, he'll go back and go, oh, those are the ones who were jumping up and down,
loving it, say they'd
how
give me their firstborn kid for the house.
Right. So that can honestly could affect your negotiating position.
Maybe.
Really? I mean,
I feel like also could be same if you don't really like it and you kind of start bashing on the house and you still submit an offer and they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to give it to them. They didn't really like it or they were nitpicking everything apart.
Yeah, you just want to kind of, we just tell folks,
keep your comments to a minimum.
Yep,
we'll talk outside.
Yeah, there you go. Do your looking. We'll go out at the street, not stand on a porch because there it is again.
There's the Ring, yeah.
And we've had people get like even some of our listing clients who have had those things who have recorded.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Can I tell a story now?
Yeah.
My turn to tell a story.
Yeah.
So we were doing an open house, and this was, I don't know, 2 years ago. This was when I was in the business. And we're holding an open house, and I think it's like a Friday night one. And there's this woman that comes up to the door, and she's either holding a dog or has a dog in a purse, just like a little like Chihuahua. And she goes, "Is it all right if I still come in? Like, I promise I won't put my dog down. I just want to I'll just hold my dog as I look around the place or I look around the house." And we're like, "Yeah, that's all right. That's okay." And so she leaves, and then once the open house is over, we always call our sellers and just let them know the feedback, how many people we had through and everything. And she was the one that made a comment. She goes, "I saw the lady who had the dog who came through." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like she didn't put it down or anything. She just held the dog as she looked through the house." And the seller was like, "Oh no, I love that. It reminds me of my dog. It was just so cute and funny to see." Yep. But they're out there and they're watching.
So they watch us too, guys, when we're doing open houses for our sellers. So yeah, so
yeah,
it's kind of fun. It's good to know because it's just good to know. Let's just put it that way. I'll leave it at that. Is that okay?
I think that's a good way to end the podcast.
All right. Yeah, we got anything else? I think that'll get you through your showings, guys. That's
You've been listening to Getting Real with Real Estate with the Kemp team. Have questions about real estate or something you'd like to discuss? Contact the Kemp team at 314-336-1926 or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Kemp team. Don't want to miss any episodes? Follow us on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. The Kemp team. Real, honest real estate.